than last night.
Canny almost hit someone with a stool yesterday.
No, that's not true.
When he found out Jeter wasn't.
That's not true, but SmackDown is going to start a couple of days early if you keep spreading those lies.
I'm just telling you.
Just saying.
It's what I heard. It's what I was told.
Finally tonight, get ready for it, 9:30, Pelicans hosting the Spurs, the much-anticipated but appropriately hyped NBA debut of #1 overall pick Zion Williamson. During the preseason, he averaged 23 points per game. However, lately he's been going viral for dozing off.
I don't know that he's sleeping.
Is he meditating?
I don't know that he's sleeping.
Well, anyway, when asked about it, here's what he had to say.
It's been very difficult. If y'all saw me meditating on the sidelines during the games, it's been very difficult, but it's finally here. I finally get to go back out there.
Yeah. That was appropriately predicted. I thought he was meditating. You know, yeah. I recognize
he wasn't sleeping. People need to stop with it. You're talking about me lying about you, Candy. People need to stop lying about Zion Williamson. He wasn't sleeping on the bench. I don't know exactly what he was doing, but he wasn't sleeping.
He was resting his eyes.
Yeah, hey, if anyone's taken a 1 p.m. college course, you know what it's like in the middle of the day where it's like 2 anvils sitting on your eyelids.
What he was trying to do, Jenna, was visualize himself in the actual
and that's
game.
Going to happen tonight.
The power of visualization.
That is big. Good call, Canty.
That is going to happen tonight, this evening.
Well, this evening, it looks like you might be on a bit of minutes restriction, so I don't think we're going to get the full Zion experience. But I want to plant my flag on this right now. I think Zion's going to help lead the Pelicans to the playoffs. I think that a team that we thought could be a plucky, interesting 7 or 8 seed before the year when we thought he was going to be able to play the full season, and then once you heard he was out and you saw them get out to the start they did, said, oh, it's going to be a lost season. Well, there are 7 quality teams out west. There are 5 excellent teams. Dallas is a good 6th team. Oklahoma City is a pretty good 7th team. And then it's a bunch of, wait, what? Fighting for that 8th spot. So the Pelicans are not out of it. Zion, I believe, is going to average 20 points a game this year, Canny. I don't think he can win the Rookie of the Year because Ja's been so sensational. He's played all year, and good for Ja, who would have been the #1 pick in a lot of other drafts. But I think we're going to get to see LeBron, Zion, round 1 of the Western Conference playoffs, and that'll end in a sweep for them if that ends up being the matchup, but it'll still be great experience, and I think people have gotten too down on Zion. The conversation is, will Ja be a better pro? Should Ja have been the #1 pick? This guy was one of the most dominant, truly once in a generation athletes we've ever seen at the collegiate level. We have such a short memory because he's been hurt. We haven't seen it. We'll be reminded of that instantly, no matter how many minutes he plays tonight, Canty, because even amongst the NBA, he's a 1 of 1 athletically as far as size, leaping ability, all of it.
Yeah, this is the most anticipated rookie debut since 17 years ago when LBJ came into the league,
yep.
and you likened him to that in terms of the physical ability.
Yep.
Just the gifts that he has and just the comparables. But looking at his profile as a collegiate player, everything that we saw at Duke would suggest that he's going to be able to come in and have instant success. And what I like about the situation he's in is he's going to a basketball team where David Griffin is the executive, somebody that was responsible for adding LeBron James to the Cleveland Cavaliers and then building out a roster around him. I think it's important to have somebody with that type of experience because they recognize what's important in terms of being able to realize the full potential of Zion, making sure that you have the pieces in place. And there's a lot to like with what the Pelicans did this offseason with the trade that they made with the Lakers. They added Lonzo Ball. They added Brandon Ingram, who's playing at an all-star level. Don't forget they got a knockdown shooter in J.J. Redick. And then they got Jackson Hayes, who's a big guy that can protect the paint, be a rim defender. So I just feel like all of the pieces that the Pelicans have in place are going to complement what Zion does well, and they're going to give him every opportunity to put his stamp on this Pelicans team. I think that's why they've been waiting for so long, trying to be cautious, because they want to make sure that he's right, and then they want to see whether this team is capable of making a playoff push.
So on one hand, they did do all that. They did wait probably longer than some had predicted when he had the surgery. They waited a long time. He seems ready. He seems focused. He seems to want to get out there. But at the same time, this is a team that is very well planning to make a playoff push. You worry you're putting too much pressure on this kid?
No.
Not only do we want you, but we need you because we need to make up some ground in the West?
Well, no, because I don't think there's a lot of people predicting what I just did. That the Pelicans are going to go from where they are right now, I think 12th in the Western Conference, to the 8th seed, but it's only 3 games back.
Yeah.
And because he's only playing half the season, and it's not like they're playing anything close to even 500 basketball right now, you're not going to say he derailed anything. And he is a special physical specimen, and a special athlete. And as far as scoring 20 a game, I think people feel like, well, that's a lot to ask. He is going to get 12 to 14 points a game outside of the structure of your offense. He will get 12 to 14 a game off putbacks and transition every night. So you only need 6 to 8 a night inside the offense. You know what I mean? In the half-court offense, while he learns at least a competent or more competent jump shot. While he learns NBA offenses, he will still be in the teens without getting one basket there. And where most rookies, not all rookies, not the kid Matthias Thybulle from Philly and a couple others, most rookies are terrible defensive players. Zion, I believe Canty will instantly be an above-average defender because of his athleticism, his ability to get to the weak side, blocking, contest shots. That will translate immediately as well, which also will help the Pelicans.
Yeah, I saw him make a play last year in college where there was a three-point shot by a guy at Virginia, and he was able to get from the paint, close out on the shooter, and actually block the shot. So, I mean, what he can do on the defensive end, I think, is being understated in terms of his overall game. But Zion will be an impact player. There is no question about it. The only question was, coming out, there would be some concerns about durability, ability to be able to stay healthy, because he had a little bit of an injury at the end of the regular season at Duke, and then he had the injury with the meniscus in Summer League. So I just think we haven't seen a guy this big, this explosive, and so people didn't know whether or not he'd be able to stay healthy. But if he stays healthy, there's no question in my mind he can average 20 points a game.
If he stays healthy, his floor is Blake Griffin. And Blake Griffin, by the way, is going to make the Hall of Fame one day. And his ceiling is a couple MVPs. That's the spectrum of a healthy Zion Williamson career. Starts tonight unanimously. But if LeBron wasn't a unanimous MVP in 2013, it's tough to be unanimous.
Obviously.
Because everything always goes back to
I mean, somebody voted for Carmelo that year. I think that's worse than what happened to Jeter. I'm being totally honest.
This was terrible last night. College basketball, where the rivalry between Kansas and Kansas State turned nasty. The game was essentially over when Kansas's Sylvia DeSousa had blocked Deshaun Gordon's shot. You missed it now, but this is what ensued: a really bad brawl. There was taunting, the bench is cleared. Kansas head coach Bill Self called it an absolute embarrassment. What do you make of all of this, Nick?
All right, so the whole thing, people will say it started with the K-State player stealing the ball from the KU guy with the clock winding out. That might be poor sportsmanship, but that's part of the game. And just like it's then part of the game, if you do that, a KU player might chase you down and and block your shot. Where it started was D'Souza standing over him and taunting him that way. It didn't have to get as ugly as it did, but that is what lit the match, so to speak. Now, D'Souza also picked up a stool and looked like he was going to whack somebody with it. That would have been disastrous. That's when people start saying, do the police need to be involved? Luckily, that didn't happen. He set the stool down, had it taken from him by a coach. I don't think his career should be over. I don't think he should be suspended the rest of the year. I think that we saw Marcus Smart get a few games when he went into the crowd to confront that fan who had said something to him. I think this is probably a little worse. I think he gets 5, 6, maybe at the most 7 games, and everyone else involved gets something less than that. But I think that's where this thing lands, at least where it should land, not with the kid's college career being over, even though it was an ugly, ugly scene.
I think there definitely needs to be a significant punishment for the players, because the NCAA has to make a statement that we're not going to tolerate this type of behavior. Now, as far as how things escalated, I get why the Kansas players felt the way about what the guy from Kansas State did at the end of the game. I would liken that to what Greg Schiano, coach defenses, used to do at the end of games when people would try to take a knee on it. They would submarine on the offensive lineman. I mean, at that point, the game is over. It was unnecessary. Now, you can't retaliate the way that the Kansas players did, and I think Bill Self spoke to that, but I think in that situation, both sides deserve some type of blame for what happened last night.
Canty almost hit someone with a stool yesterday.
No, that's not true.
When he found out Jeter wasn't.
That's not true, but SmackDown is going to start a couple of days early if you keep spreading those.
Back here on First Things First, we're now joined by 3-time Super Bowl champ, voted funniest guest we've ever had.
What up?
Former NFL coach, smart man, Eric Mancini. Hey, Coach.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
Hey, Coach, can I ask you a favor?
Sure.
And I know this is not really in your comfort zone, but I know you're working on personal growth and evolution. Will you bring at least one of your Super Bowl rings to Miami?
Oh.
Yeah, I probably won't.
Okay.
I don't really know how that associates with growth. But if you look at this tie,
Yes, the tie
that's
is
growth,
showing
bro. That
immense
is growth.
growth.
Yeah,
And so
it's
I
my
was.
growth
Here's how you can do
mindset.
it. A chain, so Nick feels more comfortable, and then just stick it on
Oh,
the
now
chain.
that would be dope.
That is more in your wheelhouse.
And I wear the rings
I haven't
on
heard
my
a lot of people say dope in a while either. That's a little bit of a throw.
Will
That
you at
would
least
be
take
dope.
a picture of them so we can see them?
Do you have rings, Coach?
Yeah, I think that is. That's
Okay,
somewhere.
just making sure, because I've been saying that you do.
Okay.
So I just want to make
Fine.
sure.
I tried, America.
And my goal is to be dope.
All right, Coach. Speaking of coaches, Kyle Shanahan is making his Super Bowl debut as a head coach. Last time he coached in the Super Bowl, it was 3 years ago. It was Super Bowl 51, and he was the offensive coordinator of the Falcons when the Falcons blew a 28-3 lead to the Patriots. He then went home empty-handed. Even though a few seasons have passed, Shanahan remembers the lessons he learned in that game.
There's definitely parts in that Super Bowl that I would love to have back, and stuff I was very hard on myself. But, you know, the whole narrative of if I just would have ran it, we would have won. I know that wasn't the case. I know it went into that game and all the stuff that happened. So that stuff didn't bother me. I won't say that I ever relaxed in that Super Bowl, especially with Tom Brady having that ball. But that's something that keeps you humble at every single moment until the game's over.
Coach, what do you think Shanahan can learn from what happened in that game that he can take into this Super Bowl matchup against the Chiefs?
Well, you see what